Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of Mondays Down South. We got plenty to talk about, but we're going to start with the most important thing. Evan, if you could join me in a very strong round of applause for our boy Zach Kukulik.
Let's
Congratulations,
go.
buddy. My man is engaged. He is marrying a Gamecock. I could not be happier. You're welcome for the inspiration, Zach. All jokes aside, the floor is yours, man. Talk to us, man. I'm so happy. I can't wait to shout it from the rooftops.
Thank you, Sai. That was an amazing introduction. Yes, I am an engaged man, and I'm a fiance. It's still surreal saying that, but
Crazy.
Alexa and I have just been ecstatic and really appreciated all of the beautiful comments, and because we just we posted it on Instagram a couple days ago, and just the amount of outpouring of love and support that we got was really cool. But also just the family and really close friends that we FaceTimed to start. It was just an incredible experience. I flew up to Boston. She had an inkling that it was coming, but she just didn't know where, because I wanted to travel. Just with how much we love to travel, with her being a flight attendant, it just made sense for us to go take a fun trip somewhere for me to do it. And we love Boston. We've been there one time beforehand and just had an absolute blast. So ironically, I had, and one of the reasons why I proposed at Van Pier Park on the Harbor Walk of Boston was because I actually took her there to ask her to be my girlfriend. And so it was just this full completion circle moment where and ironically enough, when I asked her to be my girlfriend, the weather was terrible. So you couldn't really see anything. So I had this whole plan, right? And you couldn't even see the skyline because it was so foggy. It was that New England fog that had set in. So flash forward a year and 8 months later, take her back there, beautiful weather. I mean, there was no cloud in the sky. It was gorgeous. Came with I arrived to Boston with one of my photographers. I shoot some drone stuff for him occasionally. So his name's Sam. He flew up with me. I paid for his hotel, his airfare. I was like, hey man, I don't really have a big budget for this, but if you want to come out and support and do this, it's a free trip to Boston. He pretty much hit me with the say less, I'm totally in. So we flew early to Boston, scoped out the scene, made sure all the logistics worked. Then Alexa had a surprise plane ticket that she opened the night before. And so she met me there about 4 hours later. And then her and I just walked around Boston, got together. We, put on really nice clothes. I had told her that we were going to go to dinner, and that was true. I did have dinner reservations, but they were about an hour and a half later than I was telling her. And sure enough, we walked Van Pier Park. It was a beautiful moment. It felt so right, and took the chance, got on one knee in front of the public. I mean, there were people walking around, and it was just an incredible moment captured by one of the best photographers in the game, Sam Berger. Shout out to him and his company. So it was amazing. But the funniest part is how I FaceTimed Cy and Evan, but in order to disguise the celebratory news, I told them that there was a massive NFL trade right before the deadline. And both of them, and it's hilarious seeing Evan's perspective, both of them were researching frantically on Twitter and on Google, Bleacher Report, what is this NFL trade? How are we missing something so blatant? I even said emergency press conference we need to get on. And Cy did. He obeyed. He understood the nature of what an emergency press conference means. And Evan, for one reason or the other, did not join. So he found out about the engagement news a little bit later. Evan, what is your side of the story here?
I'm so disappointed about this in myself, and so sorry I missed that FaceTime call because I was out but easily could have stepped out from where we were, and I did see it and immediately went to Twitter to validate what was going on, and then I was like, oh, it seems like nothing's going on. This is just a BAU random Zach FaceTime. I should have been aware this was an absolute zero, knowing that this was maybe on our horizon at some point. So Yeah, super disappointed in myself and the fact that I missed that call, but so happy for you guys and congrats, and yeah, we get to talk
I
about it
can
now.
Thank you.
Yeah, I can comment on how sports obsessed we are because Zach literally told me a week prior that he was doing it that day. And when he said, like, I think if he just said, hey, like, let's FaceTime, I would have remembered why he was FaceTiming me that day. But because he said emergency press conference, trade alert, like, that's exactly what I did, Evan. I was going through every, like, Twitter sphere ever. I was like, what does Zach know that I don't know? Is he just making something up? But it was the best surprise call ever. And I'm genuinely so happy for you. It's crazy to see a guy that we lose, that like growing up we lose at every bar we go to, and who like throws pies at kids, like now engaged, about to be married. What a transition we've seen, man. We're grown men. It's crazy. I'm happy for you, man. I'm genuinely so happy for y'all.
It's hard to believe, man, because you're right. Like I remember those days, like it was yesterday, where all of us were like, single, getting up to crazy things and just enjoying life. And then, one day, like when Alexa stepped in my life, I knew immediately that my life was changed. I mean, I've told you guys this before. Like I knew the moment I met her, everything changed in the best way possible. And so excited to take the next step with her. Obviously, really excited to when we do start wedding planning. You guys will both be in attendance, so that will be a ton of fun. All the shenanigans I'm sure we'll get up to before I get married. But
anyway, shout out Freddie Freeman, and more importantly, shout out Zach McCulick. We can roll into our usual program that we run. We'll talk some NFL. I'm curious right off the bat, if you guys want to rip my guy, I would rather you do it now so then I can focus on the positive later. Because I'm in the opposite lens. I'm going to give some credit to Evan's team, so I will let you guys start if you want to start ripping them first, so we can just get it off our chest. Positive, negative, positive. That's what I'm
okay. Okay, I'm actually glad you're bringing this up, Si. I'm not going to rip him. I'm not. Because AR5 actually made some legit throws. The throw to I forget who the receiver. I don't think it was Josh Downs. Well, he had the play to Josh Downs initially, but I'm talking about the later touchdown in the game where he was like under duress, threw it to the right corner of the end zone over a corner. He makes some spectacular throws. I just don't quite get him subbing himself out of a game. Luke Kuechly, who's one of the most humble guys ever, said that Cam Newton would never have done such a thing despite his utility. So I don't know. I'll kick it over to Evan. Evan, what were your thoughts on like him subbing out to let Joe Flacco come in?
Yeah, I think I'm officially stamping my belief that AR will never turn into a legitimate NFL starter. I was on the fence throughout kind of the beginning of this year. I wasn't sold, but this is it for me. Just continuing consistency, and like no NFL quarterback has ever done that. Obviously, there's not many that have the usage and the skill set of him, but not just quarterbacks, offensive linemen, the guys that you look in the eyes every play and ask them to protect you. They have to block these massive defensive ends and things of that nature on every single down. They're pulling out to the side to kick out blocks, and they can't take a play off. So honestly, the fact that he would come out of that game on the 3rd and goal, I believe it was, I didn't correct me if I'm wrong, it's an absolute joke. The Colts are a way better team. They're a borderline playoff caliber team with Joe Flacco behind them. So I think Steichen needs to kind of distance himself. Otherwise, he could get into a trap where his entire Colts tenure is tied to Anthony Richardson, which I don't think he wants to do. So I've given up on AR, in addition to him just not looking good at all as a passer. But, this whole move, I think he's going to lose the locker room. And I don't know why we thought a guy that wasn't good in college would be good in the NFL. That's my summary. Everyone's like, "Oh, he's not being developed well." I mean, he wasn't good in college. Like we should have learned from that. So that's my summary.
Yeah, I mean, I don't fault you for being out on it. I'm sure if I didn't have my bias towards AR and being the Colts fan that I am, also watching him as much as I do in his film and everything, I'd probably have a more similar perspective to you if this was a different quarterback. But I'll say this: I'm going to start with what I can't apologize for or be an apologist for. He should have never subbed himself out. I could not agree with that more. To clarify, it wasn't a 3rd and goal. It was a 3rd and 35 or something like that. And he subbed himself out because he knew we were going to run the ball to then kick a field goal because it was the end of, I think it was like the end of like the drive or whatever. So I get that circumstantially, maybe it wouldn't have made a difference in terms of us scoring. The flip side of that, though, is I don't care. You just don't do it. And the other part that kind of blew my mind was he did it. And one thing I do love about AR is he's always upfront and he's like a genuinely kind guy. So when the media asked him about it, instead of being like, I got the wind knocked out of me or something, he just very honestly was like, man, I was just tired. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I'm not saying that you can do that. I'm not saying that's okay. I'm just saying it's funny to me that he's just so like straightforward and honest that he just told the media that. There was guys like, I think it was Micah Parsons and them that were like, bro, why would you like not just say you got the wind knocked out of you? Because people have done that before. Instead, you said you just were straight up about it. But moving on from that, I can respect your take, Evan. I can't definitively rule a guy's career out when he's played 10 games in the NFL, and that's not 10 in succession. That's 10 games where he's been on and off the field for all 10 of those games. He's played like one or two at a time, then he's gotten hurt, then he's come back for one or two at a time. Obviously, it's looked terrible at times because, as you alluded to, we're talking about a guy who didn't have the greatest college career and has also had less snaps at the quarterback position than anyone in the NFL. He's also the youngest starter in the NFL, which isn't an excuse for all of this, but it's also why I think the locker room is going to give him a little more grace because I know the Colts guys love him. They're not going to be happy about what he did, but I guarantee you guys like DeForest Buckner and Zaire Franklin and Jonathan Taylor and all those other guys that we have, Kenny Moore, that are veterans are going to be, talking to him in that locker room being like, man, you can't do that. And this is what we expect. And he's, I think, a good enough guy and humble enough guy to realize his mistakes and learn from it. I respect Steichen's decision, though, and I think Zach is spot on. First half, it was terrible. He completed like two passes. Second half was when you saw that some of those upside throws and plays. He actually, the two plays before he subbed himself out, he made two spectacular plays where he rolled out and threw like a 20-yard dart to the back of the end zone. The drive before, he threw a beautiful touchdown to Josh Downs right over the corner's head into his hands. That's kind of the upside you see with him, but the problem is it's been limited because he has just continued to be banged up and not had a routine, and he needs more reps. He looked better beginning of last year than he has this one. All things aside, I think Steichen made the right move to bench him this week. I actually don't think he would have if he didn't sub himself out, but I think this is somewhat of like a, hey, like, you need to grow, like you need to grow here in this department. So we're going to sit you on Sunday night as a reminder that you can't do that to show that we're not just going to like allow that kind of behavior when you're on the field. But I do think we're going to go back to AR at some point. And Flacco's been great, so I respect him going to Flacco. I mean, it's not like you're downgrading, at least as presently constructed. So I can respect where people are coming from there.
So what is the plan though? Because correct me if I'm wrong, but Steichen said today that like this isn't like a 1 week thing. Like Flacco is your new starting quarterback, so he would have to lose the job essentially to give it up. So like, and I don't think that's going to happen. So like, what is the plan? When is AI getting this job back? Like the off season, like when Flacco's not on the team? Really, I don't really see what the plan is.
I don't think that's what's happening. I just don't think Steichen's going to come out to the media and be like, hey, we're just going to throw Joe out there because like AR made a mistake, so we're going to just like start Joe for a week and then put AR back in there. You can't say that as a head coach. You can't be like, oh, you get a 1 week start and AR is back in. I think what he's doing, from what I've read from the media and a lot of sources involving the Colts, is that the reality is that they want to get him back out there and get reps, but they're going to let Flacco out there right now because we have a gauntlet of a schedule. We just played Houston, then we go with the Vikings, then we play the Bills, and then we play the Jets in 4 weeks in a row. I know the Jets aren't as good, but that 4 week spread in our schedule was supposed to be the most brutal one of our season. So the hope was that we would win before and after that, and we probably weren't going to win many games there. So I think what they're trying to do is posture it where you put Flacco in for the hard matchups. If he loses a couple, which is probably what's expected for him to lose because we're going to be underdogs in all those games, then you put AR back in afterwards and say, hey, like, we gave Flacco a shot. We gave AR a couple games to learn, and we put him back. I think that's what's going to happen. Just that's what I think from everything I've noticed.
Set him up for failure.
I feel bad because Sai is such a sports fan, and I think Sai's going to get mad at me for this, but like Sai deserves a better team. Like the Colts have stayed the same for so long, like the last 5 to 10 years, that they almost remind me of the Carolina Panthers. They're just like the Panthers are infamous for being really bad, and the Colts are infamous for being below mediocre, and it never changes. And Sai is such a avid, passionate fan. Like I truly wish that like Sai was like a Texans fan. Like he's got family in Texas. I could give him the green light to switch if he wanted to. He called CJ Stroud being one of the best players when I didn't even believe that. I was wrong. I mean, Sai, like I'm just saying, like I feel for you because you're such a sports fan that like if you wanted to change your team, I would give you the green light. Because the Colts
mean,
have just disappointed you every year.
I'm gonna be nice today, so I'm gonna temper how I would respond to that. But I would a million times over rather be a Colts fan than I would be a Texans fan. And no offense, than I would be a Falcons fan. I am happy with actually having seen a Super Bowl in my lifetime. I'm happy with having seen Peyton Manning and Andrew Luck. I realize it's been a tough 5 to 8 years or whatever it is, but we've dogged the Texans for the majority of my life, and I haven't seen the Texans win anything of significance in ever, ever. I would much rather be a Colts fan than them. I'm a diehard for a reason. And yeah, you're right. The Panthers have been consistent. We've been consistent. But I'd rather be consistently mediocre and show some signs of greatness here and there rather than a team that has done absolutely nothing for the better part of our career since Cam Newton has left. So I am perfectly happy with my Colts fandom. And as a matter of fact, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season because I think we will compete, and I do think we'll make a run at the wild card. Whether we get in or not, I don't know, but I think we will.
Yeah, Zach, I'm out on that view as someone that has barely seen my team win a playoff game in my entire lifetime. And like Sai said, he had a really great run there early on and has a Super Bowl. And they're not a bad team. They just have, it shows how important finding a quarterback was. And unfortunately, they were a little too good to get right at the top of the draft. And it wasn't it was actually a really horrible quarterback draft. Jury's still out. But, so they took a chance and, we'll see what happens. But,
Should we talk about... Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, the very last thing I'll say is since Andrew Luck retired, which was obviously a total shock to our organization, we have been, unfortunately, as you mentioned, right in that mediocre line, but we've made the playoffs multiple times, and we've come within one game of making the playoffs multiple times. So it's been that same, right around the cusp of it. It's the frustrating part about not having found your quarterback yet, right? Because if your team around you is good and then you have a mediocre to less than mediocre quarterback, you're always going to finish in that 15 to 20 pick range, so you don't get that shot at the quarterback. The 1 year we did, we took it. The jury's not on Anthony Richardson for me yet. I am not done with Anthony Richardson. I think he needs his time, but we're going to compete with Flacco. I'll leave it at that, and we'll keep going.
Dang, I actually love the conclusion of that. It's like you're going to take the risk on the quarterback because you're there and you're typically not there in the top five. Yep. I respect that. Yep. Ev, should we talk about Stevenson on the Bears and the Commanders? I'll let you take it away.
What an amazing finish. Obviously, Sai was there right in that end zone. Super jealous of that. I was making a plan to go to this game too. I know Sai had texted you at one point, and then just kind of plans changed and just watched it with some buddies, which was cool as well. Fellow Commanders fans, but probably one of the coolest Commanders / Redskins moments of my lifetime, just to win that game. Wasn't their best game, but to pull it out at the end in the Caleb versus Jaden game. And Tyreek Stevenson, man. When you see after how that play developed, I'll point out that I don't think a lot of people are talking about it. During that game, Terry, who's usually very mild-mannered, was absolutely letting one of their DBs have it and just ripping someone on the other side of the field. Turned out it was Tyreek Stevenson. There was also a scuffle in the middle of the game, which Tyreek Stevenson was the one that got a 15-yard penalty. So he was chirping all over him. And then sure enough, at the end, instead of covering the Hail Mary, and Noah Brown, it was his assignment, by the way, to cover the guy that is intentionally behind the play for that exact thing to happen. And he, decided to just throw his hand up and try and slap it away and be the hero. But yeah, just an amazing moment. I'll give credit for, obviously it's a somewhat lucky play, but you have to put yourself in position to do that. And, the coaching and the execution by the Commanders, obviously you have McLaurin in front distracting bodies, and you have a guy behind for the tip, Zach Ertz in the middle. With the basketball play, trying to tip it out. So just a perfectly executed Hail Mary. Obviously, it takes a lot of luck and a mistake from the defense, but hey, we'll take it on to 6-2 with the Giants this weekend.
Yeah, I will. I'll jump into this one. I went to this game. I wasn't expecting to go to this game. I get a call at 11:30 a.m. that day from my family friend Nikki. You guys have met him. He calls me and he's like, "Hey, one of our uncles is supposed to go to this game, dropped out last minute. Do you want to go? We got these sweet tickets for the matchup." And I was like, "Are you telling me we have free food and drinks while we watch Jaden and Caleb Daniels play or Caleb Williams play?" Yeah, of course I'm going to say yes to that. It's a matchup I would go to. So I go into that stadium, and my expectation, I said to Nikki, I was like, I'm going to spend 10 minutes on the podcast just ripping FedEx Field for how terrible of a stadium and how terribly organized it is. That's what I was initially going to do, right? Because we go into the game and it is chaos. There's no fan management. there's literally a mosh pit of people just shoving old people and like young people out of the way trying to get to their place. I'm not kidding. You're literally like encompassed in this. Like I wouldn't surprise me if people were having like panic attacks, or if someone fell, people would probably step on them. That's how bad it was. Like it was terrible. So I'm going into this with like the worst energy of like the fan experience, stadium experience. But I'm like, okay, at least I get to go watch Jaden and Caleb play. The entire first half just sucks. Like nobody can score a touchdown. They keep driving, like kicking field goals, whatever. You get nothing out of it. The entire third quarter kind of sucks. Like you're driving, again, get stopped. It's just a really boring game for a game that I expected to be, epic. So I'm sitting there in the last couple minutes thinking, all right, well, hopefully we get one touchdown today and then we can go home happy and call it a day. And then the last minute 30 seconds of the game happens. Caleb Williams puts on an absolute showcase of a last drive after having a pretty rough game, admittedly, has an amazing clutch moment at the end, right? And in a way, I kind of feel for him because Jaden played really well, but they didn't get any touchdowns. He makes the drive. He gets him the touchdown. You give him 25 seconds, and I'm sitting there telling my, family, friends and stuff who are Commanders fans, I'm like, well, it was a fun game. It is what it is. Like, and the play that no one's going to talk about is that quick, like 8-yard to 10-yard, like out that he threw where they immediately ran out of bounds and get with like 1 to 2 seconds left. Because if you don't do that, the Hail Mary doesn't get set up. So they run that. I'm like, wait, they're in Hail Mary position. I'm like, I don't think this is going to happen, but at least we can watch Jaden bounce around and throw the ball deep down the field. It'll be fun to watch. And while that's going on, I'm sitting in that end zone with Stevenson right there. And my buddy Nicky's pointing to him and he's like, do guys normally do that? Do they like normally just like start pointing at the fans while the play is going on? I'm like, no, they're not supposed to be doing that. I was like, he probably just thinks the play's over, so it is what it is. He's just chilling. And I'm watching him pointing, and then I'm watching the play happening. I'm like, what the heck's happening? Then he runs back around. I'm sitting right there, directly in front of it, waiting for the ball to just fall down and for us to get up and go home and have everyone be dejected. And I see the tip, and it lands in his hand. And I kid you not, for like a couple seconds, I just sat there, and I was like, is this real? Like, it's one of those sports moments where it just does not feel real. Like especially because we could go to 100 NFL games and never have that happen in a single one. I mean, I don't remember the last time a Hail Mary touchdown to win a game happened. Maybe Aaron Rodgers back in Green Bay like 8 years ago or something. So, I mean, I just like, I know I'm going on a rant here, but it was truly one of the most special sports moments I could have gone to. I had no dog in that fight, and I still left that game being like, I'm so grateful I got to go to this. I mean, it was truly amazing. And the funniest part is like good design by the the Commanders to have a guy in the back to make that play. But that has got to be one of the worst defensive like catastrophes I've ever seen at the end of a game. We're going to leave the game with Caleb getting a lot of crap and Jaden getting a lot of love. But the reality is they both have started to really play well this season. Jaden obviously better, but this isn't on either of them. This is on a wild finish and a crazy situation there, in my opinion. Yeah.
Zach, you got anything?
No, nothing. Ev, you got it.
The one person that gets a big break, arguably by that Hail Mary happening, Shane Waldron. Do we have confirmation that he was allowed to get back on the plane after that? Does anyone know? Because he should not have been on that plane after throwing it off to a offensive lineman trying to take the lead in the fourth quarter. I don't know if exactly saw that. Obviously, Cy did, but before they were able to finally punch it in, we're handing it off to an offensive lineman instead of Swift or Roshan and fumbling. I don't know. Waldron is a disaster. My other thought is DJ Moore. Terry McLaurin's better than DJ Moore. I said at the beginning of the year, I'm not a buyer of DJ Moore as a true number one, and he's proven me right. He just did not have anything in that game. So that's my other call out. Terry McLaurin, top 5 in receiving yards this year. So those are my other comments.
Zach, what's your opinion on that take from Evan?
It's tough. I think if I could pick one of the two, it would be DJ Moore, just because of his build and his strength and his like finesse. He's more of a possession receiver. Terry's a deep ball guy. But I mean, to Evan's point, Terry is putting up numbers, and he was interviewed by somebody, and he said he's having the time of his life right now. I mean, this is what happens when you actually put a quarterback in front of Terry McLaurin. You see a lot of results. So I would still go DJ right now. Personally.
Yeah, they're a different build, and this is no knock against Terry because I believe they're in similar tiers. Like I don't think either of them are like elite, but I think both of them are like great. But I think DJ Moore, for me, has more of a chance to be elite because of the more complete skill set. I also believe that Caleb is not nearly as good of a passer as Jaden is at this stage of their career. I think Caleb's slowly getting there. And Caleb has like 8 different receivers that he's throwing the ball to every week. So DJ's not quite getting the volume and the quality of targets that Terry McLaurin's been getting. It's the same issues Terry's had in prior years where DJ has been better than him. And even then, DJ never had a great quarterback. He still managed to put up great numbers last year, for example, when he was on the field. So I think it's a little unfair to go purely based on this year's statistics. But I also have always been a fan of Terry's. So that's not like I'm a DJ Moore truther. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, nothing you said there isn't true of Terry, is my take. He's had 1,000 every season with all those quarterbacks. Commanders have like 8 different receivers they're throwing the ball to. DJ's just not for me. He's not for me. As an elite number one. But.
I respect that. I mean, talk about a team that's, or a player or a team that's not for really anybody, is the Tennessee Titans, who are absolutely the worst team in the league at this point. Did you guys watch the highlights or just like any part of the game against the Lions? They got waxed 14-52. The Titans, I can't even believe I'm saying this, but the worst part of their game is their special teams. Isn't that insane? Their offense is terrible. It's run by Mason Rudolph, who had like multiple interceptions in this game. Will Levis can't stay on the field because he's always like trying to make some ridiculous like Jackie Chan type of play, like extending his body. And then their defense is atrocious. I don't even know one player on their defense. And those components aren't even the worst part of their game. It's their freaking special teams, which gave up 2 touchdowns, almost 3. And I've had it with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, it is a complete joke of an organization. And like their head coach doesn't even look like he wants to be there. He's too busy like critiquing his own players. It's like, how does the special teams coach for Tennessee get on the plane back? Ask me that. Like in Detroit, like how does he get on the plane back? I hope he's fired right now. But I'm not sure if you guys saw that game. That's just one of the things that really ticked me off this week.
Zach, I'd rather watch my house league basketball game than I would a game where the Lions are playing the Titans, man. The one thing I'll say, and Evan, you can have the floor, but the one thing I'll say is, did you guys see that Jared Goff had like 50 yards passing when they were up like 45 to like 14 or whatever it was? He literally threw for 50 yards. He finished the game with 80 yards total and 3 passing touchdowns. I mean, it's I don't think that's got to be the first time in NFL history a team has put up over 50 points and the quarterback didn't throw for over 100 yards. It's crazy. Anyway, Ed, all you.
I don't have much to say on the Titans. I caught bits and pieces through red zone, but yeah, that was just an atrocious performance of fundamental football, like you said, in the special teams end. I think they're tanking for Arch Manning in 2 years. They'll pretend that they want to give Levis another shot next year, even though he's, clearly has 0 chance of being a good NFL quarterback at this point. So I think that's the plan in Tennessee, is to just be absolutely horrendous, get the number 1 pick in 2 years. And I think Arch would have fun in Nashville. So I think that's the plan there in Tennessee, and it's going to be ugly.
Dang, I really like that. I really like that.
You think they're going to tank for 2 years? That's what you might be right. That's just wild to me to think that someone would do that.
Yeah, because like is there anyone you tank for? Like Shador isn't going to Nashville. Like that is not a culture fit. But Arch would be a great culture fit from a location wise. So, and like they have the easy excuse of Will Levis, like they're gonna like, we want to play him another year and see what we got, kind of nonsense, and then it'll be horrible next year. I think that's the plan right now, honestly.
You're making me nervous, Evan, because I'm concerned that if we go into next year and AR hasn't had a good year, that all of a sudden Jim Irsay is going to want to do the same thing, and I'm stressed about that. I don't like the idea of all that, but I love Arch, but it is what it is.
I do love that selection. Speaking of quarterbacks, transitioning games here, the Bills against the Seahawks, which was my game of the week. To be honest, caught by surprise. I picked Seattle. Probably screwed us over there from a Matrix potential game we could have bet on. But the Bills smoked in Seattle, 31-10. You guys realize that Josh Allen had not thrown an interception before that game? He's crushing it this year, even though with the loss of Stephon Diggs, who's out with an ACL injury for the rest of the year. He was 14 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and I think you tack on like another 4 or 5 rushing touchdowns he's had this season. Threw 2 touchdown passes, had his first interception in 7 games against Seattle. Still wasn't a problem. They roll 31-10. I guess the reason I bring this game up is, how good do you think the Bills are, and how good do you think the Seahawks are? Like, do you think they're both division winners in their respective divisions? Like, do you think both have what it takes to actually be number 1 in their division?
You can go first, Evan.
I think the Bills are big time. I think the trade of Stephon Diggs was in addition by subtraction in some respects. Not to disrespect the player that Diggs is, but culturally he was a problem. And when you don't have someone that's kind of that prima donna wide receiver, again, all wide receivers are prima donnas. I don't want to pick on Stephon too much, but that's just demands the ball because of one, how good he is, but also from a personality perspective, it's so much easier on Josh to just throw it to the open guy. Like, let the offense scheme it open. Ever since they went to Joe Brady, they've been a lot better, and he just finds the open man. That was a really impressive win. I mean, Zach, a lot of people were picking Seattle in that game, and I don't blame them. Tough going on the road there. So that's a super impressive win for the Bills. I think they're a Super Bowl contender. Not necessarily a favorite for me, but I just don't think Seattle's very good. I think their odds to win the division are last, actually, which is a surprise. Now even the Rams have passed them and Arizona. Yeah. It's all pretty tight, but I don't have them as a playoff team. The NFC is way too deep right now. So I think they're an okay team, but I don't think they're a particularly good team.
Yeah, the one defense I'll give Seattle is that they were out DK Metcalf this week, and that's a massive blow to him because that's Chino's favorite guy. But regardless of all that, I'm not big on Seattle. As of a couple weeks ago, I think Evan and I were talking about it. I think we both mentioned that we're kind of out on them in terms of like a playoff competitor, especially in this loaded NFC that we have that just gets better every week. The flip side is I have no faith in the Bills winning a Super Bowl this year, like not even like a 0% chance. I don't think their defense is that good. Honestly, I give Josh Allen credit because he's making it work with what he has, and they're 6-2. But until they got Amari Cooper, they didn't want to throw the ball at all. Like, you had to force them to throw the ball. The reason he has one interception is because he's only thrown for 1,700 passing yards this season. Josh Allen is a guy who usually throws for over 4,000, and he's barely on pace for 4,000 this year. So it's been a result of them like wanting to run the ball as much as they can and whatnot because they don't have the receivers. Now that they got Cooper, though, shout out Keon Coleman. He is starting to open up and make more plays, which is huge because this is your perfect example of when a guy is young and you make him your number one, it's a lot of pressure and struggle when the number one corner's on you. But then things open up when you bring another guy over. I mean, Garrett Wilson has actually looked even better with Devontae Adams, even though Devontae Adams hasn't looked that great there. It's kind of like that kind of, as Evan was alluding to earlier, addition by subtraction kind of situation. But I will say this, the AFC overall, and this will help transition into other games, just looks terrible. Like outside of the Chiefs who are undefeated, and even the undefeated Chiefs are having to piecemeal wins together because of the number of injuries they've had. They're the only team I trust because we went out here giving the Ravens all this credit only for them to go lose a stinker to the Cleveland Browns. Like, how can I trust that team? And how can I trust the Bills? Neither of these teams, when they've been better, like personnel-wise, have been able to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs. Why should I believe that they can now when, they're piecemealing it together? Then what do the Ravens do? They go at Deontay Johnson. If you don't go win the AFC this year, Ravens, if you do not get to the Super Bowl this year, it'll be an absolute disgrace and a blasphemy of like and a waste of talent that I've never seen before. I mean, it's truly unbelievable how bad the AFC is right now in terms of like top tier talent. Even the Texans, they don't look good. Anyway, you guys go ahead.
No, I agree. Yeah, I agree. The Ravens have just been so inconsistent. I kind of expected that, actually. I almost picked the Browns out, right? As insane as that sounds, but with Baltimore's inconsistency, and the Browns are going to be so much better with Jameis Winston, and I had a hankering that might happen, but yeah, I don't disagree with anything you got there.
I think this is the best time to bet on the Baltimore Ravens for like from an AFC conference champion or a Super Bowl champion perspective, because I feel like the Ravens have been consistent. They won 5 in a row. They started the season pretty rough. We were actually talking, they had to go to Dallas and they were going to be potentially 0-3. That obviously didn't happen. Now they're 5-3. They won 5 in a row. They have the best rushing offense in the league. I think they're okay. I think this is actually a good check. It's a good check and balance here. Their defense needs to improve more than anything else. But yeah, Lamar will have his series of bad games, but I fully expect them to pick it up. But staying in the AFC, there is a one matchup I wanted to talk about, the Miami Dolphins versus the Cardinals. The Dolphins specifically because, it was really good to see Tua back, and just the way he electrifies that offense instantaneously, puts life into them. It's really special seeing him work in that Mike McDaniel offense. But I actually want to pick on the defensive side of the ball. Jalen Ramsey is terrible. He is terrible. he just got himself a 3-year, $72 million contract. And Evan has touched on this before, which is why like the GM for the Dolphins has just been crippled with just like all of these different boneheaded decisions. All right. Whether it's paying Jalen Ramsey $72 million fully guaranteed over 3 years, but he's a veteran cornerback who's over 30 years old. Jalen missed 2 big assignments that led to 2 touchdowns by the Arizona Cardinals. One was a missed sack on Kyler Murray, and one was completely blown coverage. And it's just really sad to see how he's one of the biggest trash talkers in the game, demanding the biggest price to pay, but he has not played up to par for multiple years now. And this was a key moment where Tua comes back, the offense puts up 27 points, but Kyler and company come into town on the road across the coast and completely torch them offensively because Jalen Ramsey could not cover, and he was missing every single one of his assignments. So that's my perspective on that game. I think Jalen really blew the game for them. Si, I'll kick it over to you. It looks like you have a couple comments there.
Yeah, I think. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Jalen is definitely past his prime. I don't think he's like a number one type corner in the like. He's not in the conversation for like a top 2 to 3 corner anymore. I don't think he's necessarily done. I think he just sometimes is like playing a little bit too high risk nowadays. Like whereas back in the day when he was a little bit more in his prime, he could like take those risks and still be able to keep up with the guys. It feels like maybe he's just like trying to do too much rather than doing what he does well, which is just try to isolate people on that island. My takeaway mainly, actually, first of all, shout out Arizona. I can't trust them as far as I can throw them, but for whatever reason, one week they'll lose to a team they have no business losing to, and then next week they'll beat a team that talent-wise is better than them. This is why I have no idea what to think of them, but great win for them. I actually think the Dolphins are, especially with the AFC wildcard being as open as it is, like I think the Dolphins could really make a run here, even though they lost this game. It was Tua's first game back after being out for a couple weeks, and he looked good. And I think the offense is opening up a lot more. Raheem Mostert is already back to multiple touchdowns. You got Devon Achane. I know Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are just going to get better. I think this team could make a run at it until it starts getting cold outside. So we'll see. We'll see what I think the next couple of weeks. That record might look pretty good. They got a big matchup against Buffalo, so I want to kind of I want to give them some flowers of like what I expect from them the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, I'm out with you on this, Zach. I just don't think Miami's a very good team. It's good to see Tua back. The offense will be better. I mean, the AFC's wildcard's wide open, so sure they can make a run, but I don't think it really matters much. Sleep on Arizona, man. They win that division. I disagree with you, Si. They actually have it. If you look at their schedule, they haven't lost to a team worse than them. I mean, their losses are the Commanders, who are good now, Buffalo, Green Bay, and Detroit. I think those are 4 losses. Those are some of the best teams in the sport.
It's not bad.
They beat the Chargers in a mucky Monday night game, and then this was a really tough spot for them, like Zach mentioned, against Tua coming back on the road in Miami. It's a tough win, man. So don't sleep on Arizona.
It's less about them not winning, like, or losing games that they shouldn't lost. It's about them getting absolutely trounced in those games, like the Commanders game and the Packers game. They lost by like 30. Man, it's like against the good teams, there's clearly such a gap in terms of like that's what I'm alluding to. I'm not saying that they don't beat the bad teams and lose to the good teams. I mean, they beat the 49ers, but I think that was when the 49ers weren't complete because as we can see right now, the 49ers don't look nearly as good as years prior. They might be better in the next couple weeks, but they're out a lot of guys. But that's just my take. But I see where you guys are coming from. And about Miami, this is more speculative rather than me thinking that they're great right now. I would like to kick it over to another team in that conference, though. Matt Stafford is that guy. Yo, I was saying it last week. This is why I think trading for a guy like him is so worth it. Not that Sam Darnold hasn't been great, but what a win for the Rams, man. What a statement for the Rams. They just got Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back, and both of those guys look like they've been playing all year. Like, they look like they haven't lost a step. It's impressive. Kyron Williams, put some respect on his name. I feel like for some reason we don't bring him up much, and he is a top 5 running back in the NFL. There's, like, even when they were struggling, he was still putting up numbers. It's a good team. I mean, the defense has some room for improvement, but being able to go beat the Vikings on Thursday Night Football, that was really impressive.
Yeah, that was impressive. And it just goes to show you what happens when Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are back in play. The entire offense changes dramatically. Um, I'm more on the bandwagon. You guys have been warning me about it the entire time. I think I was even quoted saying Matt Stafford is overrated. He's not that dude. And I wish I could take those words back, because just watching him actually play with guys who are healthy, it's flashbacks of everything he was able to do with the Rams a couple years ago with Odell and Cooper Kupp and company. So I just don't know if this team is sustainable to winning the division. That's my one concern. But actually, I will agree with Cy on, like, if we're going to talk about NFC West, I think that the Rams have a much better probability of winning the division than Arizona does, because I think they're a more complete team with veteran presence. And I just, as electrifying as Kyler is, I think he can be kind of figured out in a quarterback spy system, especially with a guy like Fred Warner, right? Like a 49er. I know they lost to them, but like, I still think that those type of teams will cause Arizona a lot of issues. Whereas the Rams, when you have those two receivers who are elite, you can set up other guys like, Kyron Williams or Tutu Atwell, and you're seeing these guys get their flowers too. So I actually am very high on the Rams. And if I could repick them, I would say that this is the team that will win the division this year. I actually do think so.
To your point, they also had their head-to-head win over San Francisco, so I guess that speaks to why Seattle's in the basement of the odds. But yeah, San Francisco's in trouble, man. They're in a tough spot here. They're gonna have to get healthy in a hurry. They haven't made this easy on themselves. So, yeah, Stafford, when he's got all his weapons, though, is one of the best in the game. So no disagreement there.
I still think I got to pick San Francisco for the division because they get Christian McCaffrey most likely back week 9. If that wasn't happening, I probably would feel differently. But not having Brandon Ayuk the rest of the year is going to be a struggle. This week they went out and played without, like, Debo goes out. They already have Brandon Ayuk out. Juwan Jennings is out. And they still go and trounce the Cowboys. Not that beating the Cowboys is impressive anymore, which, by the way, that sets up another topic of conversation real quick about a game we should cover. The Cowboys, Evan has been saying this for a long time, and I keep, giving them some level of credit because I'm assuming Evan is a biased Commanders fan, whatever else. I'm done. The Cowboys are the most overrated, like, whack team that we have seen in our lifetime. They have been riding the coattails of their early 90s, divisional playoff wins where they got to conference championships back then for the better part of 3 decades. And every single time you think they have hope, like last year, they find a way to lose it, and then they come out the year later, and you're like, okay, maybe they'll respond after having a great second half. And what do? They suck. That's all I have to say. I know they're injured, but they're not as injured as some other teams have been. And their defense falling off a cliff the way that they have this year, even with Micah out, is inexcusable. And Dak has not played well at all. I thought coming off a bye that he'd have a better game. Nope, he didn't do anything until the very end. The only thing they've done well is have CeeDee Lamb show up this week, like really well the way that he has in the past. But outside of that, they have no run game, they have no defense, and Dak doesn't look good. I'm done with the Cowboys. I'm done. I'm tired of watching them on primetime football. I'm just so done with it.
It's a formula that does work. Russell Wilson and the Steelers.
Oh, that's a
Tell
statement.
me that formula does not work. Mike Tomlin is one of the smartest coaches in the league. I mean, it's a reason why he has never had a season under 500 in all of his tenure in Pittsburgh, which is now north of 10 years. Not to completely segue subjects, but let's flip it on its head and say, well, what's a formula that is working? The decision to bench Justin Fields for Russell Wilson for efficiency with a team that fuels off of the efficiency was undisputably the right call. When you have Russell Wilson throwing 20 of 28 for 250 yards and a touchdown, and the team is just humming, like Najee Harris is now having some breakout plays because 9 players aren't in the box to stop him for another 2-yard carry. He had 19 carries for 120 yards. George Pickens is quiet for the first time in his life because he's actually getting the football, so he's actually happy. And then that defense under Mike Tomlin's scheme is just crushing it. And I know they played the Giants and everything, but this is a 6-2 football team. And I think Russell Wilson, the decision to start the veteran, was one of the best things that they could have done because Justin Fields gets to learn from him. But I do think that this is Russell Wilson's team, and I really hope that Justin Fields does not get the start. Obviously, unless, God forbid, like there's an injury or something like that, that would allow him to do that. I think Russell is the guy in Pittsburgh, and I'm curious to see if you guys agree or disagree with that.
I'll just disagree with the semantics on the term benching that a lot of people are using. Justin Fields didn't get benched for performance. Justin Fields was never the starter. Similar to how we're talking about Flacco versus Richardson. This was always Russell Wilson's team. Mike Tomlin said that from the beginning. He was just truly injured. I love Justin Fields. I want to defend him, and I thought he didn't play. I thought he played pretty well. But yeah, Russell Wilson's playing better. They're a better team with Russell Wilson at quarterback. I don't disagree with you there. And shout out Mike Tomlin, man. He's one of the best coaches in the game, and he had it pegged all along. And my question before we get, or after, I guess we get Sai's views on the Steelers is how far can this team go? Is this a team that could, challenge for an AFC conference championship or a Super Bowl, or how far can they take this?
Yeah, I'll answer that. I think they can win a single playoff game if they get the right matchup. And then outside of that, I don't think they're going to make any more noise. I think that's more because of some of the lack of, post. I don't think Wilson's going to ever take the top off an offense. But one thing that I will say is we never talked about this when the trade happened or when the decision to put Russell Wilson happened. We never talked about it. If it was any other coach, I'd be like, what are you doing? Because it's Mike Tomlin, I fully trusted it because I know that when he's watching those practices, he can tell who the guys are rallying around or who the guys are, playing well around. So I wasn't surprised he went with Russell. And I'm not surprised that George Pickens and guys like them are playing better with him because obviously he's a better pocket passer than Fields is. I won't dispute that the Steelers have looked good with Wilson. I just don't think their ceiling is very high. I think they'll give people tough matchups, but I don't think they're going to an AFC championship. One thing I do want to allude to real quick and from that game, though, is the Giants – obviously, have not looked good overall, but they have weapons, man, and their defensive line is good, as Evan alluded to. Malik Neighbors is going to be a superstar player. He already is on that trajectory without getting hurt. And then Tyrone Tracy, this 20-year-old guy, I don't know where he came from. He's one of the most efficient running backs. The guy took like 20 carries for like 140 yards this week, and he's basically been doing that the entire time Singletary's been out. So if the Giants can ever figure out a quarterback solution, do not sleep on that team in the next couple of years. They just need to figure – I know it's a hard thing to do, but I just want to give those young guys a shot. They got a squad over there.
Yeah. I think Daniel might be a worse coach than Daniel Jones is as a quarterback. Is one of the takes I came up with this week. So I think they need more than just a quarterback change. But, and then Malik Neighbors is going to be a commander in 5 years. That's why. But I don't know too much else.
I'm trying to think if we should pick on one more game or not.
I think real quick, I just wanted to get your super quick thoughts because I know we need to go into our pick segment. What did you guys think of first the Jets losing this week to the Patriots, and then the Bengals, who I think two of us picked, me and Evan, getting absolutely whooped by the Eagles this week? I was not expecting that, especially with the Eagles on the road. What did you guys think of those two, real quick?
Well, it goes off of Evan's picking against his gut, which was the correct one, saying the Bengals just may not be all that good. And it's pretty bad, man, when you're giving up 37 points to an Eagles team that is struggling offensively compared to prior years, right? Saquon's taking the top off from a running game, but you could say that Jalen Hurts has taken a step back. But he certainly didn't last game because aired it out to Devontae Smith, which is just a beautiful ball. It's one of those moon balls in the air, like those old Russell Wilson balls in Seattle where the ball literally leaves the screen and just drops right in his hands. But I also think that I wanted to give Cooper DeJean a shout out, the rookie for Philadelphia. Big stops, had a tall order trying to cover Jamar Chase up and down the field. Obviously, Darius Slate can't do that stuff anymore. But you got this rookie who and had a massive fourth down stop against Jamar Chase on a man-on-man play where Jamar had motioned in and then motioned back out to the flat for a quick fourth down conversion. Cooper DeJean runs across the field, makes the tackle. And I just think Philadelphia is getting better and better this season. That's the difference I've seen in Philly. Philly got worse as the season went on last year, but I feel like they started slow, but they're starting to play a lot better, especially with A.J. Brown healthy. So I would say the Eagles are better than we thought, and the Bengals might be worse than we thought, Si.
Yeah, Duddy.
Yeah, I think the Jets just suck. This whole Jets thing is done. All right, this whole Aaron Rodgers to the Jets, bringing in Adams, like we're done. We got to blow it up again. All right, we got to fire the whole coaching staff. We got to get Aaron Rodgers out of there. We're an entire team. Like the Jets are a disaster. We're going to talk about the spreads here in a minute. The Thursday night spread with Houston, I'm going to spoil it, but it is just insane to me. This is a bad football team. I'm completely done with it.
You're not going to like me very much.
The Bengals I knew were bad, but I didn't think the Eagles were good. So I agree with you. I think the Eagles are turning a corner here and starting to play a lot better. And I think that NFC East is going to be really, really interesting this year. But the Jets are definitely bad. The Bengals are definitely bad. The Eagles are turning the corner and becoming good.
Yeah, no dispute on what you said about the Jets. I think any of us that thought they were going to be good or we were wrong about them. I think the conflict I had was I thought both the Eagles and the Bengals would get a lot better throughout the course of the season. I know I made that take a few weeks ago. The Eagles clearly are. The Bengals took a step back, so it's weird. We'll see what happens. But, especially with the Steelers and Ravens having the records they do, this is not looking good for the Bengals right now. But shout out to the Eagles. That was an impressive win.
So who are your AFC wildcards right now? Quickly, so we can jump to picks. But it's like
wild cards.
Yeah, I mean, let's assume obviously that Baltimore and the Steelers are in. So that gives you one. But like, who are your other two?
You're saying Baltimore and Steelers. So Baltimore is a division, and so the Steelers. One of them would be okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Oh, that is
good, but I feel like they're both definitely.
No,
you're
right.
Yeah.
That's fair. At least as of right now, that's a fair take. Oh my gosh, that is a great question, Evan. I would probably Zach. Do you have one off the top of your head?
Yeah, I'm going to say the Chargers and the Bengals. I think the Bengals will figure it out.
I mean, I'm not going to try to be a total homer about this, but I do think my Colts have a shot because of how bad the latter half is. We're 4-4. We're going to lose a couple in the next couple of games, but the back half of our schedule is so weak. And if Joe plays well, we could get in there. So I'll throw my team out there over the Chargers. I definitely like us more than the Chargers. I might have to agree with Zach about the Bengals. My other thought was Miami, but they're going to have to make up more ground. So that makes me think Bengals for the other one. I know they have to make up ground too, but I just think they have a better overall or better offense. So yeah.
Yeah, I definitely have the Chargers in mind as of now, but like having to pick one of the other teams is insane to me.
I know. I agree.
Yeah, I would maybe pick the Colts even, but Denver. Yeah. I mean, I don't think Denver's good, but they have a good record, and I think Miami will. Sam makes a good point about the weather. They're already behind schedule, and they got the cold weather again. And don't sleep on the Browns, or the Browns going to trade people without Deshaun Watson. I don't know, but yeah, it's crazy.
It's a wild one.
The NFC should donate a team, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
All right. Anything else? I'm trying to pull up the board to do picks, but
no, jump to picks.
I think we're jumping to picks. Yep. Oh yeah, Zico, shout out to your Falcons real quick. I didn't say that.
That was a big game. Yeah.
Yeah, that was an impressive. It seems like Kirk Cousins turns into his prime self when he plays the Buccaneers every time. That's what we can take away from that.
Oh yeah, I was playing soccer on Monday with Jared and the team.
Yep.
Where shout out, we had a 10-4 win. So the squad's looking good going into the playoff season.
Hey.
But he wanted me to tell you guys that he thinks that the Falcons are going to be the best skill position player team by the end of the regular season. And you're starting to see it with Kyle Pitts, although Kyle, please secure the football and do not stop running until you get to the end zone.
That was a fumble. We'll take it.
Oh, it was.
But I will take this moment to say that that podcast we did where you called out Kyle and then we talked about how he's going to show up immediately after, that take aged really well because he has been great since then.
Yeah, there's a reason I didn't bring that one up.
I love it.
Yeah,
we could jump
shout out Jared. This is a longer story I'm not going to tell right now, but I basically blindfolded with him at the JMU tailgate and did not realize it this weekend. So that was a real bummer. We got to meet him, but hey, maybe one time down in Charlotte. But
that's hilarious.
Picks. Week 9 last week, Zach and I tied for first at 10-6. I was 9-7. Actually, no, I take it back. Our guest Joe, 11-5. Best week by guest picker this year, and he beat all three of us. So good stuff from Joe there. And we jump. Yeah. But Either way, Cy has a 2-game lead for the season, but Zach is closing the gap here quickly. So, start off Thursday Night Football, like I mentioned. We have Houston at the Jets. The Jets are 2-point favorites at home. Over is 42.5. Diggs out with the 27, obviously, but I get last Thursday night's game was a trap. I figured out that trap. Maybe I'll figure out this trap by tomorrow night, but I had this as like Houston -5.5. Like, I do not understand this. I don't think I've ever gotten a spread prediction so wrong. So maybe Vegas knows something, but I got Houston money line here. Zach?
Give me the Jets win and cover.
Yeah.
Yeah, Evan, I know it seems crazy on paper, but Houston is out their two best receivers right now. Yeah, Mixon's good, but their defense hasn't been that great. You got to keep in mind, my Colts team with Anthony Richardson having one of the worst first halves you'll ever see almost won that game. We were like a call away from us winning that game. So don't give Houston as that much credit. The Jets at home, albeit not great, I think they'll win this one. I'm taking the Jets.
It's a division game. The Jets, I mean, I'm not trying to, I think this is a Vegas knows something, so I don't follow your picks by any means, but like, let's think the New York Jets lost to the New England Patriots last week. Like, this is a horrible football team. Anyway.
But that was also a divisional game. Continue.
Yeah, they got killed. Actually, no, they didn't kill, but
no, they didn't.
No, but they also killed the Patriots at home, and this game is being played in New York.
All right. That was like a month ago. Anyways, Dallas at Atlanta. Atlanta is 2.5-point favorites at home. There's 51.5. Let's start with Cy.
I need to see something out of the Cowboys before I ever pick them again. I'm going Falcons.
Yeah, I also do not understand this one. I had it closer to 5.5, so kind of Falcons winning cover.
Falcons winning cover.
Ooh, boy. Denver at Baltimore. Baltimore is a 9.5. Perfect at home. Over is 46.5. Let's start with Zach on this one.
Sorry, what was the spread again?
9.5 for Baltimore.
Baltimore winning cover. The Broncos suck, even though they're 5-3.
Cy?
I'm going to go Baltimore win, but I'm not going cover just because Bo Nix has played well.
Yeah, I have no cover. I think the Broncos defense will keep it semi-close.
It is a very high spread, by the way.
Like, I had 9.5.
Yeah, I had 8.5, so I think it's close. Yeah.
Anyways.
Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo is a 6-point favorite at home. Over there's 48.5. I'll say Buffalo wins and covers, but I have that spread about right. Zach?
Give me Dolphins to win. Dolphins money line here.
Cy?
I need to know what the weather is for me to make this pick, but I'm going to go with I'll go Buffalo win, no cover. That's what I'm going with.
All right. New Orleans at Carolina. Looks like Derek Carr is going to be back this week. New Orleans is a 7.5-point favorite on the road. Over-under's 33.5. Let's start with Zach.
Jonathan Brooks, but that's not going to solve any problems at all. New Orleans is going to win and cover -7.5. They're going to do what they did to the Panthers the first game of the season, which was like 49-7. Do not overthink the spread, gents. The Panthers are bad.
Cy?
Yeah, I'm going to say every week you can just say Panthers and not even have to tell me the team and the spread because I'm picking the other team and them to cover it. Because why would I pick anything else? We're going to win 90% of the time.
Yeah, something's wrong with New Orleans, though. I think they must have a lot of like in the trenches injuries, which I think is true.
Yeah,
but
they do. They do.
I mean, they got killed by the Chargers, so I have no cover here, but you guys are probably right, honestly. Vegas at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a 7-point favorite at home. There's 46.5. Cy?
Yeah, I expect a big bounce back from Cincinnati this week to win and cover.
I do too. This is my favorite spread, Ev. I think the Bengals are going to light them up offensively here.
I do have a win and cover, but like we got. I mean, come on, let's lay off the Bengals here with their favorite spread and all this stuff. Like,
didn't they just make us money 2 weeks ago?
Yeah, they did, and 3 weeks ago. Before that,
by early beating the New York Giants with a lucky cover.
Hey, they still covered.
They
made so much. Dude, we made so much money off the Bengals this year.
Agreed. We ought to take the spreads we're given.
We also lost on them week 1 and maybe one other time. So. Washington at the Giants. Washington's a 4-point favorite on the road. Over there's 43.5. Zach?
Give me the Giants money line here.
Oh, I like that, Zach. Damn.
I was ready for that. All
right, I'm gonna. Oh my gosh, I can't say Giants money line, but I'll go. Commanders win, no cover. This divisional game will be good.
All right. Commanders winning cover. Giants coming off a Monday night game. The Commanders are still touchdowns, not field goals, unlike the last time. Chargers at Browns. Chargers are 1.5 point road favorites. Over under is 42.5. Give me Cleveland on the money line. They're way better with Jameis Winston, and they are playing at home. Chargers going across the country, et cetera, et cetera. Zach?
I actually agree with this. Give me Browns money line, and I think a lot of it has to do with Herbert does not do well on the road, especially in cold environments. They're not playing in that protected dome and beautiful LA weather. They're gonna have some problems. Give me Jameis. He's gonna ride the wave.
Hey, man, don't sleep on that white boy Lab McConkey, and don't sleep on J.K. Dobbins, and definitely don't sleep on Justin Herbert paired with Jim Harbaugh. I'm going Chargers.
New England at Tennessee. Tennessee is somehow a favorite here. Minus 3.5. Over under 37.5. Let's start with Cy.
Oh my gosh, you'd have to pay me so much money to watch this game. I'm gonna go Patriots, man. I'm not picking the Titans.
I actually love this spread. I love this spread. Give me the Patriots. Sorry, you're up.
Yeah, so do I, because we've uncovered the, I think it was Cy that uncovered the Lions curse. And the Titans just played the Lions. I would love to take these 3.5 points. Drake May's playing better than Brissett was, so I'm here for it. Jacksonville at Philly at 4:00. Philly's a 7.5 point favorite at home. There's 45.5. I believe ETN's coming back this week if that interests anyone, but I'll take Philly to win and cover. Zach?
I feel like this is a win but no cover situation. So give me the Eagles win but no cover.
Jacksonville is out Christian Kirk for the season, and there's a good chance Brian Thomas also doesn't play this weekend. So I can't assume Evan Ingram is going to cover this by himself, even if ETN comes back. For that reason, Eagles win and cover.
Good notes. Chicago at Arizona. Arizona is a 1.5 point favorite at home. Over is 44.5. Let's start with Zach.
All right, I'm looking at the game right now. Give me, dude, this is tough because the Bears are 3-0 at home, or the Bears are 4-0 at home. And they're 0-3 on the road. Give me the Bears money line. Still, they're going to get their first road win.
I thought this was going to be a solo pick for me, but I'm going Bears money line.
I do. It's a tough game, though. As you mentioned, the Bears struggle on the road. I think last week's loss is going to cost them a chance at the playoffs. I think that's just so huge for them to blow that game. Some divisional matchup coming up. Detroit at Green Bay. Detroit's 3.5 point favorites on the road. Over 48.5. Do we know what Love's status is? I know he left the game last week.
He hasn't practiced. He hasn't practiced today.
Oh, really?
I think he is, yeah.
That's a bummer, man.
Yeah.
I was going to pick Green Bay if he was healthy, but if he's not playing, then I got to go Lions win and cover. I mean, obviously the spread's going to change drastically if he gets ruled out. So, but either way, I guess I'll go Lions win and cover. Damn, I was going to pick Green Bay, honestly.
I have the same, but I would assume based on their practice that this is the line that, this is the Millie Coles line, and they did play really well with Millie Coles because they just ran the ball, play good defense. But yeah, I'm still surprised it's that low. So
against Detroit,
the Lions win these gridiron in the trenches matchups in the divisional games. It's Dan Campbell bred, and give me the Lions win and cover whether Jordan Love plays or not. I like the spread.
Yep. Rams at Seahawks. Rams are 1.5 point favorites on the road. Over-under is 48.5. The Seahawks have been up and down, back and forth. You cannot predict what they're going to do on any given week. So I'm going to say they find a way to win outright at home in this game. Zach?
They're supposed to be good at home, but they haven't really played well at home this season. They got decimated at home last season. Give me the Rams, the win and cover minus 1.5. That's probably one of my favorites as well.
Ty?
Yeah, so the Seahawks are getting DK back, I think, from what I saw, so that'll help them out a lot. But I still think I'll take the Rams just because I trust them more week to week.
Sunday Night Football, we got Cy's Colts, Indy at Minnesota. Minnesota's a 5 point favorite at home. Over-under is 46.5. I'll start us off again. I actually think this is a good time to buy Minnesota in some respects. I still don't think we're going to win the division, but that Thursday night game with the Lions curse, trap game, short week, all this kind of stuff. Like I said, I think the Colts will be better with Flacco, but I like this as a Minnesota winning cover spot. Zach?
Same with me. Minnesota winning cover.
Yeah, I'm gonna give you guys some ground to catch up to me this week because I wasn't gonna let us bet against my Colts anyway. So I'm just gonna take us money line.
Love it. I'll take the extra game on the board.
You're welcome.
Tampa Bay at Kansas City. Kansas City's a 9-point favorite at home. There's 45 and a half. Let's start with Cy.
Give me Kansas City by 80.
Yeah, the Bucks are good. I mean, they don't have their weapons, but like Otten, McMillan, like they have some guys. They're able to beat up in other positions, though. I'll say no cover, so they keep it close, but Kansas City wins.
I think with the limited options, Baker's going to really start to make mistakes, which will be the first time this season. I give a lot of kudos to Baker Mayfield, but I think he's going to try to force throws. And Travis Kelce's playing better. He had his first big game, his first touchdown in 7 games. Give me the Chiefs to win and cover at home. So this is going to be tough.
So one update to the QB rankings I've identified is a gunslinger tier, and like Baker, Matt Stafford, Dak Prescott, like these types of guys that are so reliant on their weapons. Like when Baker doesn't have Mike Evans, he's nowhere near as good. He played okay last week. He's always going to throw a couple picks though. But so I think in these guys similar to where like if they're out there big weapons, like it really hurts them more than other quarterbacks, and they're always going to throw a couple picks anyway. So just a random.
The other quick note. The other quick note on that is it might work against other defenses, but if you tell Spags that they're out Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, who has truly been one of the best receivers in the NFL all season, if you tell him they're out both of those guys, I guarantee you he finds a way to shut down Otten in that run game, and there's no way in my mind that they're covering with Spags on the other side, man.
Bucks are still a good team, but yeah, unfortunately, the injuries are very unfortunate.
Their defense is atrocious, and their offense is missing their biggest players. So I see this as like a very completable spread, especially considering Kansas City is disciplined to win the close games, Evan. But I feel like this is going to be their first barn buster like blowout. Like they owe it to themselves to have that type of game.
Yeah, the Bucks also just haven't played a defense like Kansas City's yet. There's a reason they're 7-0 even with all the or 8, I don't know if it's 8-0 with all the injuries that they've had. It's because their defense is unbelievable.
All right. Anything else, boys?
That's it.
Nope.
I love it.
Hey, Cy, you going to be tuning in to the Texas A&M South Carolina game this Saturday?
Oh, you best believe I will be. That would be a massive win for us. So I would love to watch it. Yep.
All right, and also, final thing, are we going to go to a football game this year, guys?
I'll plan it out.
Love to.
Let's talk about it offline.
We'll talk about it offline. Well, thank you,
Zach. Actually, I got one for you.
Wait,
college basketball, I believe, is back on Monday. And guess what, Zach? Apparently our teams played in a little secret scrimmage in the last few days.
We probably waxed you guys.
No, you got waxed. Now,
yeah, right.
It was like a 15-point win for the Duke. So who knows what these secret scrimmages have to offer? Like, do they empty the benches? I don't know. There's no information on it except for the final scrimmage. So let's see.
It's so funny because normally when you guys talk college basketball, I have to like tune out. But after last year, obviously we got smoked by Oregon. It was great, but we had a really solid team. So I'm looking forward to seeing what Lamont does this year. What a guy.
Yeah, Zach, did the Hokies make the tournament last year? I think you're the only one, right?
No, we didn't, dude. We didn't. It's a big concern of mine. Our team got worse, too, because all of our players transferred away. But anyways, we'll talk about all this stuff offline. If you guys are still listening, thank you so much. You guys are fantastic audience members if you lasted an hour and 9 minutes with us. But anyways, that was Mondays Down South. We'll catch you on the next one.